Washington state is, of course, known for its world famous apple industry, but numerous other forms of agriculture are produced on 7.7 million acres of land and generating $12.9 billion for the state's economy, while being the second largest producer of specialty crops in the nation. But a recent report by the state's Department of Agriculture indicates that there are several challenges that Washington farmers are facing, including climate change, economic issues like tariffs and pricing, and a shrinking workforce, just to name a few. I spoke with John Devaney, president of the Washington State Tree Fruit Association, about these concerns and what can be done to protect our state's valuable tree fruit industry. Let's talk about this report. Tell me what it means for agriculture in our state, which is a big part of our economy, specifically the tree fruit growers.
Yeah, so the tree fruit industry has been experiencing some really difficult times in the past couple of years. We've had growers who've had successive years of selling their crops for less than it costs to grow them. We are seeing multiple challenges that are facing producers. This is not just a single cause. It's inflation in just about every input that they're seeing, along with softening of prices. Everyone would always like to make more, and so sometimes it sounds like a complaint that I'm just not making as much profit as I would like. But what growers are really facing is flat to declining prices.
What can elected officials do to try to help some of the problems and challenges that the tree fruit industry in our state is facing?
As I mentioned, there's not a single cause of these problems. There's not a single solution either. At the top of our list when we talk to legislators is really being aware that these are not the industry in agriculture and tree fruit are not in a position to absorb new hits. So be cautious. Think about the impact on the ag sector and the economy before you take major changes in new regulatory requirements or changes in tax policy. What they have not really appreciated is that dynamic we were just discussing, that the prices are going down even though the costs are going up. And so producers really have no market power to pass on additional costs.
Let's talk a little bit about climate change. What effect is this having on the crops and the whole industry?
Well, we've seen a drought in Washington state for the past couple of years, and that is really frustrating for a lot of our growers because the drought in a lot of central Washington counties that rely on irrigation systems is not a lack of water, it's a lack of water when and where you need it. Historically, our irrigation systems were designed to be recharged over the irrigation season by snowmelt. The winter snowpack, as it melts through the spring and early summer, recharge reservoirs, which then supply irrigation systems. We're seeing the same amount of precipitation in many cases, but it's been coming as rain, and it is not able to be captured and held in those reservoirs for use later in the year.
Now let's talk about urban and rural divide. What is it, and how is it affecting your industry?
Washington is a really, really big state, and not every Washingtonian interacts with people in other parts of the state. And so there's a lot of misunderstandings about the problems that, in rural areas about the problems that urbanites face, and vice versa. Urbanites not necessarily understanding the challenges in rural Washington. And so it really is a challenge of misunderstanding or lack of knowledge in many cases. I would say that rural residents are more likely to understand urban areas because you drive to SeaTac to fly out of the region. You drive to Seattle to go to a Seahawks or a Mariners game. People are used to, in rural areas, making the trek to the big city for various issues. Not every urbanite does the same. They don't necessarily drive to Sunnyside to go buy their apples. They go to the consumer co-op in Seattle to do that. And so rural residents have more understanding of the traffic problems, for example, that urban residents face. But I don't believe that many urban residents really understand the challenges of operating in rural areas. So I think there are a lot of cases where urban residents don't understand the impacts of some policy choices that are made in our state affect all rural residents. It's something that we spend a lot of time trying to educate legislators and the general public about. But it is something that I think collectively we do still need to work on.